This episode is brought to you by 1010. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings, designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly and sustainably sourced from Botswana, 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful diamond ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. This exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com. This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 857. Read this when you're feeling unloved and unsure about yourself, by Irene Elias of SelfLoveJunkie.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to ORD. This is the podcast on which I, Greg Audino, narrate to you from relationship blogs, books, and articles written by experts all around the world. Just as the relationships we have with others are important, so are the ones we have with ourselves, and they are often neglected a little bit more. Well, today, our author Irene is going to address how we bring ourselves back to neutral a bit when our relationships with ourselves are at low points, we'll call them. What do you say we hop right into it and start optimizing your life? Read this when you're feeling unloved and unsure about yourself, by Irene Elias of SelfLoveJunkie.com. You've noticed that you struggle with being your true self when getting to know someone in a romantic way or in your current partnership. You don't feel you can be vulnerable enough to show all of your true self, even the parts that aren't as pretty. You feel like you have it ingrained in your mind that nobody will love you for who you truly are, so you try and morph yourself into someone that you think a partner would like, which is maybe why you're still single or in a relationship and struggling. What if I told you that it's more than possible to know that it's safe to show someone the real you and be respected and loved for all your flaws? How can I be so sure, you may ask? I remember a time in my life when I was dating my now husband, and I had a major meltdown right in front of him. I was on the floor crying and screaming, and I was doing that big, ugly cry. In between processing my emotions, I did wonder if I may have screwed up my chances with this relationship. However, I was feeling so much hurt that I was more concerned about me releasing these emotions. So, I allowed myself to feel and accept the fact that this is how I felt, and if he didn't like what he saw, then he wasn't for me. For the first time, I had revealed my vulnerable side to him, and he witnessed my not-so-pretty parts. He sat in silence and just let me be in my pool of emotions. Once I finished, there was a silence in the room. I walked up to him and put my arms around his shoulders and sobbed quietly in his lap. He held the space for me and didn't say a word. He cradled me and held on to me so tightly and lovingly. I will never forget that love that I felt from him during that moment of long silence. The day after, I asked him if he was turned off at all by what he saw, and his response was, "Irene, I love you even more." Oh, get the tissues out. I knew right then and there that he was the one for me. Someone who saw the not-so-perfect Irene. Someone who saw past the illusion of perfection and instead saw the essence of my soul and loved even more. I knew that the self-work that I had done played a major role with how this all unfolded. My energy field read that I no longer desired acceptance from others. It had become exhausting, and I was just done with that story. Not to say that it doesn't feel great to be accepted by others, but that is short-lived happiness. If you can't accept yourself, then others will have a hard time accepting you, and vice versa. If we want to be accepted, we have to accept others. So, why do we have such a hard time accepting ourselves? Well, since childhood, we've been led to believe that we're not good enough exactly as we are, and so we have to be, look, or act a certain way in order to be loved. In other words, we shouldn't have any quote-unquote flaws. And so we desperately want to be loved and accepted for who we are. We spend our energy trying to get the approval and trying to win people's hearts because we've developed this obscured belief that we have to be perfect. As a result, we might hide aspects of ourselves or put up masks to hide our true self. Perfection is merely an illusion and something we cannot measure against our self-worth. We are inherently worthy exactly as we are. If you're trying to measure yourself up against perfection, then you'll keep chasing your tail and waste your precious time. to love yourself exactly as you are. You must stop wishing you were someone else. Stop trying to become someone else, and embrace the amazing person who already resides with you. If you're having a hard time with this, I totally understand how difficult it is to accept yourself exactly as you are in this moment, because, like I said, we've been trained for so many years to seek other people for their love and approval. But what I would like to remind you is, the events in your life, the wounds that you carry, are not the sum of who you truly are. The reason why you're having such a difficult time accepting the real you is because you've become more invested with the story you're telling yourself about yourself. You've lost sight of the essence of who you are because you identify more with the story. My advice? Be willing to peel your attention away from focusing on the parts of yourself that you feel aren't good enough, and instead, direct your focus on parts of yourself that make you feel you are good enough. Then, here comes the fear. Some people are afraid that if they accept themselves, then they have to settle or accept all that is wrong, and then there won't be any progress or change in their lives. Not the case at all. It simply means you are practicing unconditional love and coming to peace with what was, what is, and who you're becoming in the process. As I write this post, a butterfly has just landed on my window right in front of me. How fitting. A sign? Maybe. Perhaps imagine yourself as a butterfly. This reminds me of a popular quote by my friend and mentor Cynthia Ocelli. Quote, "For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction." End quote. When we're wanting to reveal our true self, we have to crack a few false masks. And this can feel uncomfortable and scary. But once the mask cracks, your true beauty is revealed. It was there from the moment you were born, but along the way you picked up messages that told you false beliefs. I hope you can dismiss the lies that were given to you along the way and see that your true self is beautiful and good enough. If acceptance feels foreign to you, that's completely normal. It's a process of retraining yourself to develop a new habit, turn it into an attitude of self-acceptance, and then allow yourself to spend time in what I like to call your divine temple, aka your heart. You can begin this process in the morning while sipping your coffee and before you start your day. Write these 2 sentences down and fill in the blank with something you approve of yourself. Number 1, I'm now beginning to see my true self. Number 2, I'm willing to accept myself and I approve of ... For example, I am willing to accept myself and I approve of my tenacious personality. Just imagine for a moment how good it would feel when you woke up in the morning and you had a loved one expressing their approval of you. However, instead of waiting for someone else to approve of you, you start and do it for yourself. Much more empowering and fulfilling. I hope that this piece of writing will make you less afraid about showing your true self in your romantic relationship. There is nothing wrong with you. You just listened to the post titled, "Read This When You're Feeling Unloved and Unsure About Yourself" by Irene Elias of selflovejunkie.com. You know, everyone, navigating personal turmoil or even other sensitive issues such as money and health can be extremely stressful, and such stress and anxiety can easily create family conflicts and affect your relationships. Well, before that happens, we want you to know that BetterHelp is here to help you cope with your emotions. BetterHelp assesses your needs and matches you with your personal licensed professional therapist, providing a safe and private online environment for you at your convenience. They have professional counselors specializing in depression, family conflicts, grief, and more to help you. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. BetterHelp is not self-help, it is professional counseling where everything you share is confidential. Guys, I want you to start living a happier life today, and as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/ORD. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ORD. And thank you so much to Irene for some wonderful reminders today. The message she's conveying is highly important, And the good news about it is that I think more people are starting to live by it and feel less shame about who they are and expressing themselves more openly to loved ones. The bad news, however, is that the opposite seems to be in effect when we are the ones on the other side. As dating options expand and we become more on guard, I'll say, about people's individual flaws, it can sometimes be difficult to turn Irene's logic around and accept other people's vulnerability as gracefully as Irene's husband did in her story. So, just a reminder that while it's an invitation for you to love yourself more, it's also an invitation to love others more when confronted with the sides of them that aren't just for show. All right, and that is going to do it for today here on ORD. Thank you again to Irene, and thanks to all of you for listening. Weekdays are weekdays, so we will be back with you for more this week straight through Christmas. Don't miss a beat. Be sure to come on back, everyone, where your optimal life awaits.